Hi, my name is Mel, and I'm a working homeschool mom of two. I have a preschooler and a middle schooler. And like you, I enjoy watching content on YouTube about the homeschooling experience. And I just felt like it was getting kind of boring hearing everybody talk about the same thing at the same time, and most of it being just curriculum based. I'm a freestyle curriculum homeschool parent. So curriculum based isn't, all that beneficial for someone like me. So I just want to generate conversations to help the homeschool community grow and develop conversations that will aid in that process. And so I am going to go over with you today what the assessment looks like for my seventh grader when it comes to a baseline of what we should be covering in our homeschool to make sure that he improves as an individual throughout this school year. So I have another video that I'll link below of what I did for my preschool child, but this is for my middle schooler. And I feel like it's important to talk about what we're doing for assessments and to have an assessment, especially when it comes to male homeschool children, because I see a lot of things out there for people who have um, female middle schoolers and high schoolers and things like that. And we just have to open up the floor for us to understand the differences between the genders and what's important or what books are important, things like that. So for my first couple of assessment questions, I gave scenario type of things, right? And these are things that I feel he should know, and some of them I feel like I never went over it with him, so I'm wondering what he thinks he should do in these scenarios. So these are things like, fire scenarios, natural disaster type of things, um, uh, what happens when you're at outings with your friends, or you're not around your parents, like things like that. And I would have him write paragraphs out of what to do in each scenario. And I'm looking for him to be thorough, because I want to make sure throughout this school year that he's thorough when it comes to getting ideas out of his head and onto the paper, or communicating what's in his head out to whoever he's talking to. So thoroughness, neatness, spelling. It's so many things that go hand in hand when you ask him to write a paragraph about it. And the layout is what he's saying doesn't make sense in the way that he's conveying his information. And um, are there any aspects of which he understood he needed to, uh, he might need a little bit more help in this area? So when does he come and ask for help? Or does he just flat out say, like, this is what he knows? He needs to figure out there's something else he needs to do. So that was what I did for the first half of it. Uh, when it came to history type of questions, I asked him for the continents and the oceans, because I feel like that's something he should definitely know by now. And he did good on that. I asked him for the three branches of government. He did good on that, as he should. I asked him what the first 10 amendments of the Constitution were called. He did good on that. And I asked him to name some of them. He could name a few of them, so we can improve on that. I asked him about the number president we were on currently. He needs to improve on that. And I understand, because we're not a politic type of family like that, but these certain things are important to know. I asked him to write something in cursive. So I wrote down an affirmation, and I asked him to write down in cursive because we went over cursive and we haven't practiced it in a while. And I just want to make sure he still had that skill. And he did good on that. um, I asked him about different what I asked him to write down in a paragraph what he knew about puberty already, because this year we are going over um, health type questions, um, the body, sex education, uh, puberty, hormones, all that kind of stuff. So I asked him to write down what he knew about that. I read his topics, and I read his information, and I know where to go from there. I asked him things about geometry, an acute angle, a right angle, an obtuse angle, the degrees in a circle, a straight line, circumference, things like that. And whatever he did not know, we're going to work on it. But we haven't even started real geometry yet, like just the basics. So it's interesting to see what he already knows and what he doesn't. Ask him different formula for finding a triangle, just to see if he still remembered these things, because they're going to be important as we progress through math. Um, and I asked him about the circumference of a circle, same reason. And squaring and square root, want to make sure we have that kind of stuff down pat. Um, ask them about things such as, like, if you go buy something that's on sale, what is the new price if it's this much percent off, like, to see if he understood that. Um, ask them things like time related, like scheduling wise. I gave him some geometry questions where they had weird looking shapes, and you have to know how to think through it and make other shapes within it to get the area. And I feel like we need to have more work in that area for him to be where I feel like he should be when it comes to thinking these things out. Um, I asked him to solve for X, and we have X on both sides. Uh, I asked him about his thoughts on teenagers. What's the difference about from teens and children? And then what he thought the difference is between teens and adults, because he's becoming a teenager. So I want him to understand and consciously um, his feelings toward these things as he is getting older. And I asked what some things he feels he should know about or experience or be prepared for to be the kind of teenager he wants to be. Um, I did some things where I wrote a sentence incorrectly and asked him, like, daily oral language type of editing skill type of thing to go in and fix it. And I actually got the sentence from something he said. I asked him a question, and he has a way of responding, and it's not thorough, and he feels like you should be able to fill in the missing parts of what he's saying. And so I wrote down exactly what he said and was like, go ahead and fix this. And he did accurately. I asked him, what's a hyperbole? Give me an example. Give me an example of personification, simile, metaphor, idiom, onomatopoeia, alliteration, irony. And he needed an example for every one of them. Whatever he did not understand, I know we're going to improve on that area. Um, I asked him to write a paragraph about how he felt about his thoughts on homeschool. And I was doing this to see his paragraph writing skills, and like I said with the other ones, but this one was strictly on that, and his thoughts, getting his thoughts out and onto paper. And he was doing excellent. He started to make a really good point, and then from that really good point, he stopped. And I'm like, okay, so that's something we're going to work on. Is he started off strong? I want him to finish it strong as well. For science, we talked about the magnetic field, and how it applies to him and the world around him. He did not quite have that understanding, so that's something we're going to work on. I asked him about kinetic and potential energy. I asked him some first aid questions, because first aid is one we're going to go over consistently, because even as an adult, this is something that I still have to get trained on all the time because of the nature of the jobs in which I do. And if it's important for us as adults, it's important for them to start learning this now when they're capable. So it's like, how do you stop the bleeding on a cut or on a wound? What natural remedies can you use for a stomach ache? What temperature is considered a fever? How do you reduce a fever without medicine? Which medicines do reduce fever? What do you do for a nosebleed? What types of burns are there? Describe each one. What do you do for each type of burn? How does chemistry, physics, and other sciences help with first aid and health like concern? So these are all questions that I asked him just to gauge where he was on this. And so for physical education, gym stuff, he's into soccer, he's into working out and stuff like this. So I need to assess his physical strength at this point. So sit-ups, how many can do in 60 seconds? How many push-ups in 60 seconds? How long can he hold a plank? Can he at least do 60 seconds of a plank? How high can he jump? Can he improve in that area? How long can he hold his arm hang? How many pull-ups can he do? And what's his pace in the mile? So things like that is what I'm looking for to see how he improves. And I asked him to show me different things. Show me your bicep, your tricep, your thighs, your shins, your calves. Where's your torso? Where's your pelvis? I asked him your glutes, like just different parts of the body. So, and I asked him what exercises he can do to improve or strengthen each one. How do we strengthen the joints? Uh, what's the difference between flexibility, stretching, and strength? And how do you become more flexible? What can you do to become more flexible? Things like that. What foods can you eat to improve certain parts of which body? So I want him to know how all these things connect. And then I also asked him what is his current workout plan. And of course, right now it is none. Why? Because although he likes to do things like to work his body out, he's into sports and um, they have their own thing that they kind of do where it's not his own personal workout. It's kind of whatever they're doing for that day. But I want him to understand that part of his health is going to be him having his own routine he goes through, in addition to that other stuff. Because when soccer is not in, it's not in season, are you just not going to do nothing? So anyway, those are the parts of his assessment that I gave him this year as a seventh grader. And throughout the year, we will improve in those areas. And again, these are not the only things he's going to be learning. This is just a baseline for me to know at the end of the school year how he has grown and that he has grown as an individual throughout this school year. He's going to be learning so much more than that, but this is just a baseline. And I think that it's important for each person to assess each child of theirs separately because every child grows in a different rate, a different pace, and what each child needs at this stage is unique to them. So have a great day and thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe.